Now watch this drive.
What's up, ballers? And let me hear you holler in the comments. It's Cole and Jacob back with the Hoops Variety Hour. This time, an episode actually about hoops. Now, as the Warriors head into an offseason full of potential for reloading a depleted roster, they have several tools at their disposal to redefine the depth they depended on in the past years. Chief among them is their $17 million trade exception stowed away from the Iguodala to Memphis transaction that made the D'Angelo Russell sign-and trade possible. While this trade exception will necessarily have to be packaged with other valuable assets, it remains the only avenue from which Golden State can snatch a high-tier veteran or rising young player. With that in mind, me and Jacob will discuss 4 possible uses for the trade exception and how it could alter the Warriors roster moving forward.
And the Warriors' chances at another title.
Yes, well, we all know the Warriors' chances at another title are pretty fuego. With that in mind, my first trade is for Will Barton. And actually, it would be Will Barton for potentially just the current first-round pick for this year or the Timberwolves' top 3 protected first-round pick.
They probably want the current pick, but you know.
They probably want the current pick, but we'll see how they haggle. It could also be like a first-rounder and 2 second-rounders, but Will Barton has been the Warriors slayer for his entire career and looks like a bona fide 20 points in a cam whenever he matches up against the Dubs. While the Warriors certainly won't be expecting that kind of production from him, they know how valuable he can be in any given game, firsthand. His veteran leadership will also be critical on a roster that was the youngest in the NBA last year. Barton will provide another versatile wing alongside Andrew Wiggins, something the Warriors frankly can't get enough of due to the vacancy of KD, and can either come off the bench as a filthy 6-man or slide into a starting role based on injury or roster shakeup. This move makes sense for the Nuggets from a financial standpoint if they can offload Barton's money for the Warriors' top pick this year, or the Timberwolves' top 3 protected 2021 first rounder. As the Nuggets roster continues to bloat with young talent and their pockets begin to thin, it is becoming increasingly apparent that they will not be able to keep their well-paid aging veterans like Barton, Millsap, and Plumlee, as Jamal Murray's contract extension kicks in behind the rising young Michael Porter Jr., who will also expect to get paid down the line. Shedding these 3 players will net the Nuggets nearly $60 million in cap space, half of which will be eaten up by Murray's contract, and will leave them with the flexibility to re-sign solid supporting pieces or go big game hunting in an upcoming free agency class if they think their destination is appetizing enough.
Well, to be honest, I think this would be a good trade for the Warriors. I think the Warriors picking up Will Barton would be a good move. I think he fits the system well. He can shoot, he can get, buckets on offense. He plays really good defense. He's an all-around player. He's an all-around wing player. He's an all-around wing player that could really fill in at point, shooting guard, or small forward, and just kind of wherever they need. However, from the Nuggets side, I don't see this trade happening, to be honest.
Really?
Well, unfortunately for the Nuggets, this happens to be not exactly the best free agent class. I think this would make sense if they could clear up and pursue someone who is a high-name free agent. But unfortunately, that happened last summer. This summer, all the low-name free agents are available. I think they're losing Paul Millsap.
You don't think Andre Drummond for $30 million is going to take the Nuggets to the promised land?
Unfortunately, not. I don't think they need another center. I think that's pretty evident. They have one of the best centers in the NBA, arguably the best.
They could also carry it over to the next one where they'll have Giannis as a potential option.
Yeah, but I think they wouldn't make that move now.
They could also try to sell to AD. Because, listen, all I'm saying is that the flexibility to sign different pieces is something that the Nuggets, I think, want now that they're having to shovel out the money for their young guys, especially since they're a smaller market.
No, I agree with that. But I think the thing here is Will Barton has 1 year left on his contract. So if
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they either wait till next year and trade him if they want to pursue or keep him. The thing is, you're losing Paul Millsap to free agency this year, and you're losing Plumlee to free agency this year.
Potentially, if they want to clear the books, which I think would be smart.
If they want to clear the books. But if they want to re-sign them, you already have Barton locked up, so I don't think now is the time to trade Barton. You either lose those players, and if you're losing them, I think you want to keep Barton to keep that depth and fill in where the other players are leaving.
Here's the thing.
If you trade Barton, I think you're really losing serious depth.
Here's the thing. That is definitely true, but I think a part of the problem with the Nuggets the last 2 seasons has been that they have a little too much depth, and they have to give up players for not that much. We just saw that with Malik Beasley going to the Timberwolves, where they basically got nothing back in that huge amalgamation 4-team trade, right? Whereas I think Will Barton's trade value will not be higher than it is right now. And you're not going to get anything better than like a top 5, top 10 pick. And cap flexibility. I think it's a really good deal for the Nuggets from their perspective.
I can definitely see them wanting that pick, but I don't know. I feel like they
could also
package that. What they have.
They could also package that pick and then do a sign-in trade with like Millsap or Plumlee for another star or some other good player, established player.
Possibly.
I just think it keeps their options open. Whereas, holding on to Will Barton for too long could really mess them up financially. Anyways.
No, I agree with that, but one last point is, I know this would be hard for the Nuggets, but I think the player that they need to move off of is Gary Harris. I think Will Barton would be a much better shooting guard than Gary Harris on that team, and unfortunately I don't think the Warriors are going to want to trade for Gary Harris or anyone with that contract. But I think that's the player the Nuggets need to move off of to go forward and pursue another free agent.
All right, moving on to my second trade. I think the Warriors should pursue Danilo Gallinari. This one would be, you wouldn't want to give up the pick this year. It would be the Timberwolves pick paired up with Erik Pascal. And that gives the Thunder two, medium assets for exactly what they're looking for in the rebuild. Now, here's a player who finds himself in the enviable position of being exactly what every team wants offensively from their four. While he won't offer much defensively in terms of versatility, he certainly hits shots efficiently and consistently. A poorly kept secret of the current Warriors roster is their total lack of shooting outside of the Splash Brothers. And Gallinari's offensive game would make guarding Steph and Klay even more of a headache as teams scramble to cover 3 40% shooters. The Thunder also serve to benefit from the bevy of assets the Warriors have accrued the last few seasons as they attempt to milk every drop of value from the Westbrook and Paul George trades they made in the last offseason. While Gallinari helped the Thunder to a successful season, it is doubtful he will want to return as an aging veteran when he has the ability to help carry an offense to the promised land. As an unrestricted free agent, he will be seeking a situation where he can contend. The Warriors could offer Erik Pascal and the Timberwolves' top 3 protected pick in a sign-in trade for the European sharpshooter. The biggest barrier to the trade is Gallinari's expectation of compensation. Due to the league regulations that are too complicated for my poor brain, whatever the Warriors get from this trade has to be within the $17 million or under window, meaning Gallo would have to be willing to take a $3 million per year pay cut off his current contract to agree to this. The question is if the allure of playing alongside the Splash Brothers and in Steve Kerr's high-octane offense will be enough of an incentive to make this deal move for Gallinari, because I think both of the teams would benefit greatly from it.
Yep, I agree with that last point completely. Unfortunately, I don't think Gallinari wants to do this. I think the teams would want to do this. I think the Thunder would benefit from getting that pick. They want to add another young asset with Shea Gill and Steven Adams, clearly. And, Chris Paul showed that he can put this team as a winning team and, get another young pick that's really good. You get Paschal, who would just be an instant starter, too, and he'd be really good in that system, I think. The only thing, though, is I think Gallo wants to get that bag.
I definitely think that this is probably Gallo's last chance to get a really big contract, and he could probably get really overpaid by a bad team like the Hawks.
I kind of think that's what he's going to want to do, to be honest.
Money situation, yeah, situation like, who'd be a good analogy? Gallo is in an Al Horford situation right now, where he's kind of getting his last big contract, and he's going to go to whoever offers him the most money, regardless of fit or potential contention. Although, if that is something he values, I think that's something that both teams will try to work out.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't know. Personally, I think Gallo's going to go for the bag. I definitely, like I said, I see this working for both teams, but player-wise, I don't know if he has the incentive. Maybe if he wants the championship and that's what he values, but I don't know.
Maybe if it's a short deal, like a 2-year, $17 million.
Maybe.
That could work.
Maybe. Well, I think one thing that both of Cole's trades really shows is that the Warriors need kind of a forward position, either a small forward or a power forward. Now, the players that I have being traded to the Warriors are Jonathan Isaac and Kelly Oubre, who are both two very versatile 3-and-D forwards that would fulfill the need the Warriors have. The thing I think would make sense with Jonathan Isaac is that the Warriors would give up their trade exception, the Orlando Magic would probably extend his contract because he only has 1 year left before he's a restricted free agent. So they'd probably extend him for, maybe a 3-year, $15 million a year type deal, maybe a little more.
Especially coming off that ACL.
Exactly. He's coming off an injury. You lock him up for 3 more years for the Warriors. You'd probably be all right with signing that. But the Warriors would give up, the trade exception. They'd give up Paschal, and they'd give up their pick this year. And I think this makes sense for both teams because the Warriors would get Jonathan Isaac, who, one, can play small forward, power forward, or even in the Warriors' small ball lineups, move down to center. Jonathan Isaac is an elite wing defender and a very good interior defender. I think he bolsters the Warriors very, very heavily on defense. I think he also is able to keep up with their pace of play. He can run the floor really well because he's really tall and lanky. He's 6'11". He can guard a lot of positions. And even though he may not be the best on offense, I think he can definitely up his game. He's shown that he can shoot the three all right so far. I mean, if he keeps grinding in the offseason, if he's just asked to spot up shoot, I think he can start doing that.
Especially because he'll be the one that teams leave open.
Exactly. And then I think this makes sense for the Magic because they get a pick, which I think they need a superstar. And I don't think that team is going to have the easiest time signing a free agent superstar because they're not exactly the biggest or best destination.
No.
So I think they're going to need to get that superstar through the draft. I think they need to gamble, get what is probably going to be a top 3 pick. I think they need to get that pick. They get Paschal, who can kind of fill in. They'll maybe play him at the 3 with Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and then Paschal at the 3. That's not too bad. And then you get that pick that you can spend on someone being maybe a star in that position.
Might even trade Vucevic for some more assets.
Exactly. Now, my other trade is for Kelly Oubre, who I think him and Jonathan Isaac are very similar, but also very different. Kelly Oubre would be almost the opposite of Isaac, providing the 3 and D. He's a lot better on offense and would provide elite 3-point shooting. Kelly Oubre is a very good shooter and can definitely get buckets on the offensive side of the ball. However, he's not as good of a defender as Jonathan Isaac. It's, trade-off offense versus defense. What do you think the Warriors need more? Also, Kelly Oubre is not quite the same size as Jonathan Isaac, so I don't think he can switch down as much. He might struggle a little more at the power forward position. But versatility and 3 and D wise, I think that's what the Warriors need, and I think both of these players would fit that. As the Suns, I mean, you get the same thing. They get to add a young player with that pick that would fill in with Ayton and Devin Booker. And then they also have Mikal Bridges, who could easily just fill in the spot left by Kelly Oubre and take over that starting position if they don't draft someone there. And I think both of these players would be really good on the Warriors. You'd have Wiggins, one of them, and Draymond, who could fill in the small forward, power forward, and center. You could just have a whole lot of mix-up in that lineup, a whole lot of flexibility. I think one last thing on this is that adding one of these players would also give the Warriors the ability to actively seek an Andrew Wiggins trade, potentially in the future too, because you have a player that can fill in at his position and you're not locked up on that. So maybe the next year, since Andrew Wiggins is on such a big contract, they could pursue another free agent.
Two players who are arguably as good or better than Andrew Wiggins.
Exactly, at the same position too. So you either play one at small forward, one at power forward, 2 lanky defensive players who can run the floor, slash really well, 2 of them can shoot, and then you get flexibility.
Some of them are 3 and D, some of them are 3 and D.
Yeah, you get flexibility though. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Warriors.
Oh, it makes a ton of sense for the Warriors. I think where these trade scenarios start to fall apart, maybe not fall apart, but they start to get a little hairier is when you think of it from the other team's perspective, because you're totally right. That top 3 pick, while it's a really good asset, it is definitely a gamble, because there's not that consensus number 1 pick. There's not that consensus superstar in the league. And then you get Erik Paschal, right?
Yeah.
Who is a good player. Certainly, projects to be a good player.
Yeah.
Solid, potentially starter, really good off the bench guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think when you're talking about Kelly Oubre and Jonathan Isaac, who are these really good high potential players, I think it's more likely that you get Jonathan Isaac to give in this scenario when the Suns are already kind of building up that chemistry between Kelly Oubre and Devin Booker, whereas Jonathan Isaac has kind of been out of the Magic loop and is coming back with that injury. So I'm not sure if he necessarily matches up with what they're trying to do at this point. But I also don't think if I was in charge of those franchises, I would want to give up those players very easily at all, because they're very, very desirable. And like you said, they would fit into the Warrior system beautifully.
That to be said, though, they'd also fit in a lot of systems because they're so 3-and-D is what's valued right now.
To be honest, all 4 of the players that we put forward are all very desirable in terms of the prototypical, like what you want in the NBA wing / power forward.
It's very true. But I think this boils down to the Warriors need a 3-and-D player. They need someone who can either fill in as a 6-man or maybe play power forward for them, or maybe even they bump down Wiggins to power forward. But they need that 3-and-D guy. I think that's what they're going to pursue. Another
thing to sweeten the pot for any of these deals too is the Warriors have been sort of gathering up a war chest of second-round picks via the Glenn Robinson off Burke trade, other trades we've been making down in the past. Other first-rounders that we could potentially give away in the future. That's maybe not the best idea. We do have other young assets. I don't think we should be giving up too many people. I don't think Poole is going to move any deals. I think Smiley is not very valuable right now, but could be valuable in the future. I think we want to hold off on trading him.
Probably, yeah.
And maybe even just keep him, because I think he's going to be... But yeah, that's our video. Tell us what y'all think in the comments. Do you think the Warriors should make a trade for a versatile 3-and-D defender? Or do you think we're standing pat with Andrew Wiggins as our guy? Or their guy?
Definitely make the trade.
No homers here.
Let us know other trades down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, comment, and subscribe.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @OurHoops. And have a blessed day.
What a surprise. That's the distinct tang of a lion.